Baba Yaga, the second installment in the line of tales and games by Iello. These are games that come in these cute boxes that look like books, and the first in the series is the Three Little Pigs. The third one is the Hare and the Tortoise. I played both, so I didn't play them in order. I love them. I love both. I love them both as games you can play with children, and also games that you can play with your adult friends. Especially the Three Little Pigs. That's just a game that doubles as a game for children or a light dice game. I remember I picked it up at Gen Con 2014, and adults were just having a blast playing it, and I was one of them. Baba Yaga, the second in that line of games inspired by classic tales. This one is inspired clearly by the story of Baba Yaga. In this game, you had two sets of tiles. One are witch tiles, which show the same image, the mean Baba Yaga, on both sides, and the other ones are ingredient tiles that show ingredients that the players are looking for in order to be able to cast spells. And on the other side, there is an illustration which looks really nice, and that has a reminder of what's on the other side. Bats for bats. Crows for the black feather. This is tricky. As you can see, there's bread, which is not a large depiction of the bread. There are these dogs that are eating the bread. So, reminders, yes, but if you don't know what's on the other side, the reminder may not always be useful, because during the game, yes, you're looking for the things that are hidden under these tiles, but you will not always have a lot of time to look at the clues. It's better if you remember where things are. There are these cards that represent spells. Each player receives 3 spells at the beginning of the game. Takes some time, not too much, to look at them to get a sense of what it is that they're trying to cast, and also the ingredients that are necessary. And then each player forms a pile with those cards. You cannot look at them just anytime you want. When it is your turn, you flip the first card, and when that happens, the turn starts. So first you start flipping tiles like a madman looking for ingredients. Hey, I found one. When you find an ingredient that you do have on the card that you're trying to complete, you leave it face up. Oh, look at this, I just found another one. But when you find an ingredient that is not on your card, then you have to put it face down, and you keep looking like this. Now, between the fact that you can flip as many as you want and that there are clues, that should be easy, right? Well, yes and no, because the timer is pretty tough. The timer is represented by Baba Yaga, this really nice wooden piece here representing the witch. And Baba Yaga moves on her track. She needs to go all the way to one side of the track and come back to the other side. When she comes back to her starting position, the turn of the player that is trying to cast a spell is over. And at that point, you look at the board, and if the player has been able to turn face up 3 pieces that represent the ingredients, then that player is able to score the card. Now looking for the missing piece, and of course I can't think of where that may be. Oh yeah, it should be here, the gate for the oil, and this one for this one. But you only need 3 out of 4, so 3 out of 4 are you were able to find them. Then you simply resolve the effect printed at the bottom. You have different icons that will allow you to cast different spells based on the icon. There is a section in the rulebook that tells you what the icons mean, things like reducing or increasing the length of the track that Baba Yaga is traveling, moving things around, this kind of thing. If you're the first player to cast all of your spells, you're the winner of the game. If you did not find the right ingredients or did not find enough ingredients, then the card goes back to your deck, to your personal deck, but goes under it at the bottom, which means you need to remember what you had there if you want that advantage by the time the next time you'll be able to cast it. Suggestion, if you're playing with very young players, then if they mess up, simply tell them to put it on top of their deck. So as I said, you need to find ingredients before Baba Yaga comes back to her starting position. But how does she move to start with? This is the cool part. The other players, most likely the children, will move her. Each player can only use one hand to move her, and as player 1 is looking for tiles, player 2 takes her and moves her to the next spot. That's simple. That's for player 2. Player 3 does the same, then player 4 does the same, and then it goes back to player 2. Basically, the non-active players, the ones that are looking for the ingredients, are the ones that take turns moving Baba Yaga. There is a way of playing the game with only 2 players, in which case one player is the one looking for ingredient, the other one is moving Baba Yaga, and to make things not too simple, or a little less easy and quick for the Baba Yaga player, the Baba Yaga player must alternate hands. So I use one hand, then the next, then another, then the next, and the one that I am not using I had to put on my head. So that slows on that player, and also, let's face it, it's pretty funny. It looks pretty funny. Now, Baba Yaga is a simple, nice children's game. Simple to teach enough, but it can be pretty challenging in the execution for young children. Both for the player that is looking for clues, of course, and trust me, even just the process of moving the Baba Yaga piece. Young children may not realize it's their turn, they may go too early, they may move Baba Yaga in the wrong direction, in which case, well, you simply have to tell them to go back. That may give some leverage to the player that is trying to find the clues. So it has interesting elements because it has a memory element which children enjoy, but of course it has been done a lot and it can be pretty dry. You can buy any memory game at Target or anywhere, and these games are all pretty much the same. Here you have a memory element with some really beautiful and durable components, really attractive component with a theme that may get the children interested in learning about a new story. The game also comes with the story of Baba Yaga, which you can read with your kids. And also, to the memory element, there are more elements that are involved. There is more interaction, there is physical response, which is something that keeps the young children awake. Always works well with them. A little bit of dexterity, but not a simple dexterity element. I think this game really combines 2 elements that are staples of children games, dexterity and memory, and just hammers them together in a single package, which definitely is playable and enjoyable by children and with children. Now, the other games in the Tales and Games line also double well as adult games, as filler games, of course. The Three Little Pigs in particular, but also The Hare and the Tortoise. These are games that you could play with adults, no problem, and still enjoy them as like games, of course. This one, not so much. This one I only play with adults, with children, but I never felt the desire, the urge to play it with adults. I just don't... doesn't seem all that interesting in that context. Even as a light filler, as a simple game that you play while you're waiting for the last person to show up for the game night, even as a filler you play for laughs. I don't know, there's just something about it. Just there are other games that can have that function better. Also, if you just want to play a small filler, it is better if it's small in size. There's a beautiful box, looks like a book and all that, but it's pretty big. If you're just carrying it around to play for 5-10 minutes before your friends show up at the game night, it's heavy. It's just not convenient. There are other games that are better fillers in that sense. So Baba Yaga, a perfectly fine game, to me not the best one in a broader perspective in the Games and Tales line, because the best ones work for my children and for me and for my adult friends. This one works well with my children, let's not forget this, my children really enjoy it, they do laugh, they do find it challenging, the challenge is just right, which means challenging, not impossible, not too simple, interesting and fun. They like the components, they like the theme, they like to cast spells, very simple spells, very basic effects, but they do add that quality. You're training also your children, if you're a gamer, to come to start thinking about effects that cast spells. You see, you're laying the foundation here for gamers that will play much more complex games in the future. But Baba Yaga is a good children game, not so good with adults, not my favorite in this line, but good, a perfectly good game in its own.